Welcome back to College Football Addiction. I've got Jay from Unfair Sports on to talk a little Oklahoma football. Jay, how you doing, bud?
Doing good, TJ, man. What's going on? I'm glad to be back on the channel.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for taking a little bit of time. And I'll just straight up ask you, year one in the SEC, some highs and lows, some peaks and valleys. Did the win against Alabama, like how much did, like just from the perspective, I'm certainly an outsider on this, but like, did the win against Alabama, did it like cure a lot of the ails? Did it fix a lot of that stuff or not quite, right? Like because it wasn't the last week, obviously the LSU game happened too, but like just how much did that help to like fix things or fix the mood?
So I'll be honest. Having ownership stake in the state of Alabama really does help with the mindset around what's going on in Norman. Yes, the season didn't end up the way we wanted it. We would preferred to have, we're both eligible. We would prefer to have won 8-9 games. Injuries were bad. Everything just went bad on one side of the ball on offense. We got a new offensive coordinator, but outside of that, the Alabama game and the Auburn games really showed what Oklahoma actually can do. The physicality we showed in the Alabama game, honestly, the physicality we showed in the Missouri game as well. I mean, that game was like 9-3 up until like late third quarter. So you got to see Oklahoma on defense do exactly what we said that and predicted that we would do. The big thing is we need to get this offense going. And so having new offensive coordinator being Arbuckle from Washington State, I expect to see at least the offense hit one in the 50 range and up. The defense should maintain where it's at, which honestly, in defensive efficiency, it finished 7th in the country so far. You can't beat that. For the team to be as bad as it was on offense, the defense truly carried it. So having that ownership in the state of Alabama, because you beat both the Alabama teams, helps a lot, man. It makes everybody realize, okay, we're not that far off. We just need to do a few more things, and we'll be able to take over.
What is I mean, people were talking at points during this season, like, would Venables make it out, right? Like, and I know that wasn't it wasn't widespread. Like I don't know if he really ever truly was on the hot seat or not, but there was conversation. It was talk like, hey, is this thing going to work out under him? Like, did we make the right hire? Can he do it as a head coach? Has that cooled some or like, what does he need to do next year? Like, what are your thoughts, just big picture on him?
Yeah, to be honest, I think Brent Venables' seat's getting a little warm. But again, the saving grace for him is that the defense was actually good. Like when you look at even the raw numbers, the running defense being in the top 20s, the pass defense being top 50, the total defense being in the top 20. That was not going to expect it out of this team, especially as bad as the offense was. There was no way the defense should have been this good. And remember, Brent Venables taking over this team, the defense was not very good coming in initially. The first couple years, you saw a ramp up, but now you're starting to see that ramp that he did at Clemson where he started to lead those defenses to a top 5 finish. He's getting close. 7 in the defensive efficiency at ESPN. And so the seat got a little warm. That's why he saw the midseason firing of Seth Luttrell, and he had to go get himself a new offensive coordinator. I think Ben Arbuckle's going to do some stuff. I mean, supposedly he's a film rat, and he lives, eats, sleeps, and breathes watching film, being creative with his offenses. He's from Texas, and he's from West Texas, which the last head coach here is from West Texas as well. So you get another, he kind of sounds like Lincoln Riley. Just going to be honest.
Yeah.
But if his offense works, TJ, if this offense can finish top 50, top 30 at best, if it finishes in that range, that's 9 wins. Because the defense is not going to slow down. Losing Danny Stutzman's going to be big. Losing Billy Bowman's going to be big. But I think we got guys in place. The defensive line looks intact. Secondary is intact. Linebacker room besides Stutzman's intact. You should be able to see those athletes you've been waiting to see grow and mature right in front of your face.
So obviously the portal is about a week underway so far, and it is an absolute. First of all, just I'll give the take. I don't, if you want to agree or not agree or stay silent on it, I'm good with it. But it's an absolute mess and an absolute disaster. What's going on with college football and the portal and everything else right now, but it still is somewhat entertaining, somewhat overwhelming. Yeah. What is your confidence level that they can really go out and make the moves necessary in the portal to turn that offense around?
The big thing is now that Ben Arbuckle's here, the question is, does John Mateer follow him? Now, he's not in the portal right now. He's still at Washington State. He's been at practice, and the expectation is he's going to play in their bowl game. So if Mateer comes, you got yourself a starting caliber quarterback that's been in this system, a la a Dylan Gabriel to a Jeff Lebby type situation. And so he'll know what to do. He'll be able to come in and immediately play. The question is who's going to throw the ball to. But the good thing is that even though, unfortunately, we've lost 7 wide receivers in the transfer portal, they've got some big name dudes that they're going after that will fit a lot more of what Ben Arbuckle is going to do, while also having some recruits that probably have an opportunity to go in and immediately be impactful. All we need is a dude to throw him the ball. And I think John Mateer could be that guy. If not, Michael Hawkins is still on roster. He could do it. Or you can go in the portal, go start, having some conversations. Now, granted, we haven't seen Oklahoma have too many conversations in the portal as of yet. It sounds like there's a confidence there with John Mateer, but we have to wait and see if he actually hits the portal, because if there's a team that's going to compete with Oklahoma for him, it's going to be Miami. Miami's already had one quarterback from Washington State, Cam Ward, someone underneath Ben Arbuckle. They saw what he could do. And so, of course, seeing John Mateer, they're like, ooh, Ben Arbuckle's got a second guy? Birdman right here. They just rubbing their hands like Birdman, excited, because that right there is another case study of we've seen this work before. Let's just repeat it again. So for us, the Sooners, we need to make sure we got our quarterback intact. I do think Michael Hawkins has an opportunity to win that job and be really, really good in this system. The wide receiver room, as far as the portal goes, is going to be it. But it'll take a few days. I don't expect any of this stuff to close quickly and early, because the playoff teams, for the most part, still haven't started hemorrhaging yet. When they start hemorrhaging, oh boy, the portal's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to open. Yeah, you think it's wide open now. Just wait until these teams get going. And like I said, bowls and stuff. If you had to call it right now, if say Mateer doesn't enter, or say he ends up at Miami, I've been told by some people connected that Miami is actively pushing there, right? Like
Yes.
we all know what the game is, right? Whether you can't do this, you can't do that. They're there, right? Like they're there are no rules.
It's not being done.
Say he doesn't enter the portal, or he ends up at Miami or somewhere else, doesn't end up at Oklahoma. Do you think that they try to grab somebody else, or do you think they roll with Hawkins?
I think they grab somebody else because they're going to need a couple of quarterbacks. I mean, Jackson Arnold hits the portal, and then there was a portal entry by Brendan Zerbrook. He was one of the other true freshman quarterbacks on the roster. So you got a couple of quarterbacks already gone. You're going to need to go pick up at least 2, probably more quarterbacks to go along with what you currently have. Now, you did bring up Jet New. He's a freshman that you got in from Utah. So you got another young quarterback, but you're going to need at least a veteran presence there just in case. You got to always have that emergency break glass guy. And so I expect them to go into the portal, and they're going to bring in at least one quarterback, no matter what. That's the expectation. At least one quarterback's going to pull up for this team. So if it's not John Mateer, I mean, I've been looking around. I would not mind kicking the tires with the Malik Murphy coming from Duke, a la Texas. Pretty solid thrower. But I have to go dig deeper into who these young quarterbacks are that are available, because you got a lot of really old dudes that I wouldn't really want to consider. But there should be some guys in the mid-range that once the playoffs are over, you'll have a better idea of who you can go after.
SEC schedule came out this week. Obviously, you knew the opponents, and so no real surprises there. Oklahoma starts out with a cupcake and then plays Michigan in a really big out-of-conference game. All this talk about, out-of-conference week, the schedule, none of these games are going anywhere. Way too much money. Obviously, nope. I didn't expect a big game to, Alabama's the one leading that charge, and they'll be in Tallahassee on Labor Day weekend. I don't see anybody canceling any of these games. But anything about Oklahoma's SEC schedule that surprised you? Anything like, everybody either feels like the conference absolutely screwed them or absolutely gave them a cakewalk. Anything about the schedule surprise you, or, any back-to-backs that you don't like, or anything that you feel like was placed weirdly or could present a challenge?
I'm going to be honest. The only one that really shocked me is, when I really think about it, is the back-to-back home games to wrap the season up. I didn't expect that OU would get LSU once again for Thanksgiving, and then getting Missouri at the crib right before them as well. That one, if anything, that was probably the most surprising. But besides that, no, the schedule itself was kind of what I thought it would be. Having Auburn once again earlier in the season was intriguing. That's like right in between the bye week, Kent State, and then OU Texas. That one was intriguing, but the strategic placement of the open weeks, the bye weeks, to me I think it was pretty helpful. The only thing that sucks is that middle, because you got the bye week on the 27th, then you play Kent State at the crib, which is, a quote unquote cupcake, but Kent State still puts up a fight. Then it's Texas, travel to South Carolina, Ole Miss at the crib, travel to Tennessee. Then you got another bye week.
That's a tough 4-week stretch. Let's not get
Yes. We're not going to get ourselves.
Stretch.
That's a tough one. That's what I mean. That middle is tough. And then you bye week, and then you travel to Alabama, and then you have Missouri and LSU come to the crib to wrap the season up. So you get to bring, Missouri's used to the cold. LSU ain't used to the cold that usually gets here in Oklahoma around the 29th. So we'll see what that looks like. But that middle, man, it'd been nice if they would have had that bye week right before Texas or something, instead of it, having a 5-game stretch like that. But I'm glad that they broke up the traveling. So, of course, Dallas is the October 11th, and then the next week you travel out to South Carolina. But it's a lot of alternating home away, whereas your only travel that's back-to-back, you get a bye week in the middle. To me, that's very helpful.
Yeah. Jay, where can people follow you? Where can they find more of your work, bud?
Of course, follow me, Unfair Sports, here on YouTube, as well as whatever podcast to download and listen to. Thanks for having me, TJ.
Yeah, one more quick one. Brent Venables' old team versus your biggest rival. Clemson have any chance in that?
Oh, man. They should. They're physical enough. That's about it. And Kay Klubnik knows Quinn Ewers. They play each other in high school, so they're physical enough. I think they could do it. They can go out there and surprise everybody. If they make the defense, make things tough for Quinn, they'll have a chance.
Yeah. Texas has not overly impressed me this year. Texas fans will absolutely go crazy in this.
Be pissed.
But there have been, Clemson's basically lost to everybody with a pulse that they played, except for, a game where they blew a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. So we'll see. I could see that game going a number of different ways. I kind of like Clemson to cover at this point. I think Texas does find a way to win. Jay, I appreciate you, man, for hanging out, bud.
Thanks for letting me pull up.